Hey guys, welcome to SOAR from Home with me, Lindsay. Today is our part 2 of prepping for a job interview. If you haven't watched part 1, go over to our channel, Project SOAR, and find last week's video, click on it, watch it. But you can definitely watch this video without having watched that one. But together, they have more help to get you prepped for a job interview. Real quick, I want to mention we are Project SOAR, a nonprofit here in Twin Cities, Minnesota. If you are in our area, go ahead and come and see us. We have in-person classes. You can find those projectsoarmn.org, projectsoarmn.org. And you guys can check out our current offerings and go to our online registration. If you're not in the Twin Cities, come and join us for our online classes. We have some fun online classes coming up, and we love seeing all of our friends from around America that have joined us. So, hope to see you there. Now, to dive right in. So last time, we talked more about really prepping for things to remember, and making decisions on how long do you need to get to the interview and what you should wear, and making sure you have a ride and working on dates and times. This one, we're going to be focusing on 5 job interview questions. Now, there's obviously a lot of interview questions I really could go for and talk about, but I really wanted to focus on 5 and make sure that you guys can practice and get to know these 5. So I chose 5 kind of standard questions that fairly often you'll hear in a job interview. And one of the things I want you to do is I want you to practice answering these questions before you go, because then you're going to feel more confident and prepared and really let your personality show through this. So, couple things that we're going to think about. So I'm at the interview. Maybe you know the person, maybe you don't, but you always want to show that you're professional, meaning you really want to sit up. You want to try your hardest to do eye contact, and you want to speak clearly so they understand you. All right, so that means no mumbling, quiet. If I started talking like, I'm saying gibberish right now, but that would be really hard to hear. And I don't need to yell it at them, right? Because they're going to be like, woo, they have a problem with their volume. So we just want to talk clearly and nice and not too loud and not too quiet. All right. So first question we are going to chat about is probably one of the most often asked questions in an interview. So, and that is, tell me about yourself. So if I come to you and I say, tell me about yourself, probably my first response is to give you my entire life story, right? I'm going to start and I'm going to tell you everything about me. But that's not what they're asking. They really want to know more about your work experience, your hobbies, and how it will relate to the job that you're applying for. So what you're going to want to do is you're really going to want to think about some things that have happened in the past, what you're currently working on or volunteering with now, and really what you want out of the future, like this particular job. And I'm going to give you an example for that, but I want to go over a couple more things. So you really want to make sure it's relevant. Like, you know, in my life story, my 2nd grade teacher was Mrs. Johnson. That's not relevant. They don't really care. But maybe saying my favorite subject in school was math, and I was part of the math club in high school, might be really relevant. Woo, watch your words. That's why we practice. In knowing that you're good with numbers, you're good with math, maybe you're applying for a job to be a cashier, so you'll be handling money, and that'll really help you if you're, you know, that was one of your favorite subjects. So that would be relevant, meaning it would be, relevant means making sure that it is meaningful to that job or has something to do with that job. we're going to do an example now. So when I think about tell me about myself, I'm saying talk about something in the past, the present, and the future. So maybe in the past, I've had a previous job where we're going to say that my job right now is I'm a hostess at a restaurant. And my new job is I want to move to a different restaurant and be a hostess there. Okay? And then in the past, I worked at a clothing store as just like a general worker. So that's my examples for what I'm using for this story. All right, so I might say something like my first job, and what I've really kept with all of my jobs is in customer service. I really like being around people and helping them out. My first job was at a store that sold clothing, and I really liked making sure that things were getting done and prepared and putting everything in a nice order and really interacting with the customers. An opportunity came up at my new job to become a hostess at you can use the name of the restaurant, but I'm going to say restaurant for now. I'm going to say an opportunity came up at restaurant to be a hostess, and I really liked that aspect of continuing customer service, but really being able to interact more with the customers and greeting them as they were coming in. I really like to meet people and hear their stories, so that really helped me continue with that part of the job that I really liked. And now I saw your job listing, and I really wanted to apply to your restaurant because I've heard so many good things about this restaurant, and I think that having this hostess job will help in the future further my career in the customer service field. So that's what I'm going to say. So do you see how I talked about a previous job and I'm talking about customer service? Because the job I want to is really going to be interacting with customers. So I'm going to talk about my past experience with customer service, my current, what's going on now. I have a job now, but I'm trying to get a new job. And so I'm talking about my past, present, and what I want in the future. And I'm just saying, hey, and that's a very simple answer. You guys can take that and say, hey, I want to do more with customer service in the future. So now the exercise I want you guys to do with this, tell me about yourself, is I want you guys to write down a script. I want you to think about, create an imaginary job. So if you want to try what I was doing and do a hostess at a restaurant and come up with your own story, that works. But talk to somebody or in your head, come up with a job. Maybe you have a job you're trying to get, write it down, and then think about what you've done in the past. Maybe it's a volunteer position where you did something that maybe you volunteered at a nonprofit such as an ARC or a Goodwill or anything like that, and you folded clothes. And now you're trying to have a job at a clothing store. And you say, well, in the past, I did volunteer work at such and such place, and I really worked with the clothing department, hanging up and folding things, putting tags on. So that experience really helped me know that I liked working with this type of material. And that would be relevant. So it doesn't always have to be job experience. It could just be a life experience you had that really helped you do that. So volunteer work, job work. Again, you don't really need to go into too much detail about, like, in 5th grade, I sprained my ankle because of PE. They don't need to know that. But if it's a hobby that's relevant, or maybe just kind of lets you say, like, oh yeah, on the weekends, I really like to bowl. It's my favorite thing to do. Just like add something personal in. That's great. So I want you to pick a job, and then I want you to write down. I want you to write down anything and everything you can think of that would help you in the job you want. Maybe you need to ask somebody, say, hey, what do you think I would need to know or be able to do for this job? Then think if you have an experience doing something like that. It's okay to talk it out with somebody and write it down. Then you guys can always just edit it. So edit meaning if I think of 20 things that I have done, maybe I'll pick 3 of the best ones that I can talk about and use those. So you're going to think of everything, then you're going to write your paragraph, your very quick tell me about yourself paragraph, and put the best ones in there. All right. So that's tell me about yourself. All right. The next one we're going to do is what are your strengths and weaknesses? So they don't mean strengths by like how much muscle you got or, you know, what is like the bad part of you? No, that's not what they're meaning. They're saying, are you able to reflect on yourself and see what you need to work on and or what you're really good at? That's really the meaning of that question. So one thing that I know about strengths and weakness question is that when I answer the weakness part is I try to think of something that I'm not the best at, but I'm continually working on, but turn it into a positive. Now, I have an example of this. So my memory is not always the greatest. So sometimes I think that's my weakness and I'm not the best at it and I keep trying on it. But what I will say is I'll say memorizing is slow for me, but once I memorize it, I know it forever. I will not forget. So do you see how I said, oh, my weakness really is my memory, but eventually that's one of the best things. So I turned it into a positive. All right, so we are going to talk about strengths now too. With your strengths, you really want to talk about, you know, anything that's really good for work. So like time management, being personable, meaning that you're really good at communicating with people and being around people, that you're very caring, you're very hardworking, you like to learn, all of those types of things. So think about 2 or 3 qualities that you have for your strengths, and then think of a weakness and try to turn it into a positive. If you have questions on that, you guys can answer. Shoot me a note in the comment section below. Just click on comments under the video and type it in and send it. I should be able to see it and I will answer you back when I can. But talk about it with somebody. It always helps to kind of talk out loud to somebody because they might see something differently than you, and that's okay. That'll help you. All right, the next question, which is really important, what days are you available to work? This is something you got to really think about beforehand because maybe you have day program on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so you're really only able to work on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Maybe you have a doctor appointment every single Monday, so you're only available to work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You know you get tired really easily, so maybe you're really only looking to work 5 days a week versus like 8 hours a day. 5 hours a day versus 8 hours a day. So really think about that. Maybe also you don't have a ride in the morning, so you're really looking more for a night job because you know you have a way to get to and from work. So really think about that and figure out what you're available to. One of the other really important things are, so when you work for like a big store that are open on like holidays, Black Friday, busy times in the summer, they really want to know if you are able to and willing to come in on those types of days when they're going to be the busiest. So say I take a family vacation. It's always the last weekend in July, but I'm gone for a week every July with my family. I don't want to miss it. So that's something to bring up and say, you know, the rest of the year I really don't have vacations or anything like that planned, but I would like to have this week off in July. That's very important for my family, bonding. But all the other times, Black Friday, whatever, I'm available to work. Don't say whatever. That was a bad example. But do you see what I'm saying? Is that if you have something for sure, you know, like I said before, you have a doctor appointment every Monday, so that would be harder for you to come to, then say, I can work Tuesday through Friday. Perfectly okay. All right. Then we've got our last question is describe what work experience you have and how it would help you in this job. So for work experience, We kind of touched on this in the tell me about yourself. So you don't need to reiterate, you don't need to re-say a lot of the things that you said in the tell me about yourself section. But just say, well, all of my previous jobs are in customer service. So, and this job is mainly what I'll be doing. So that will help here. Maybe you're going to be using or dealing with money transactions, and you didn't really say that in before. So now's the time to say, oh, yeah, at my retail job when I worked at a clothing store, I did a lot of, I worked the cash register quite often. And I know at this restaurant, the customers pay up here at the hostess stand. So I am familiar with that. That is the time to talk about that. And when they say work experience, you can also talk about volunteer experience. That is the appropriate place to be talking about that and how it works. So, really important. These are 5 questions to practice. They're very basic. They can really be asked at many different types of interviews you guys will have coming up, but practice them. Tell me about yourself. What days and times are you available to work? Describe what work experience you have and what are your strengths and weaknesses. All right, go back through, you can rewind, write it down, practice it. Really think about some of the things that I was telling you about. It'd be great. If you have any questions or any ideas of other life skill videos you want me to do on this channel, so you can work at while you're at home, let me know in the comments below. Make sure you're keeping yourself safe, following the guidelines in your area, because I want you guys to be the best you can be, and the best you can be is definitely not sick. So I will talk to you guys later. See ya.